In this episode, we speak with Wardah Inam, the founder and CEO of Overjet, which builds artificial intelligence that helps dental organizations give patients the highest quality of care. In 2018, Wardah was a part of a group of computer scientists from MIT who came together with dentists from Harvard to build something special, dental AI. Thousands of dental professionals rely on Overjet to perform their most important work, with a level of precision, consistency, and speed that is only possible with artificial intelligence. Before Overjet, Wardah was lead product manager at QBio, and before that, a postdoctoral associate at MIT Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory. Overjet is backed by March Capital, General Catalyst, Insight Partners, and other notable investors. I'm your host, RJ Lumba. We hope you enjoy the show. If you like the episode, click to follow. Wardah, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. It's a delight to be with you.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
You have a fascinating background. It looks like you came over to the States and immediately started studies at MIT. Can you give us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so I did my undergrad and applied to MIT. As I got in, I moved here and did my master's, then PhD, then a postdoc. So stayed in school more than I should have, but it was an amazing place where it was all about learning. It was all about making sure you were trying to seek the truth and solving difficult challenges and solving it in new ways. So it was an exciting place to be. So I was there and then went on to work at a startup doing biomedical imaging called QBio. And then I started Overjet.
And you have a deeply technical background. Were you always kind of oriented towards technology growing up?
Yeah, so my childhood was about two things. It was about sports and it was about math, science, and that's what I liked. So technology kind of came as a way to apply maths and physics. But I think for me, it was naturally about solving problems. And that's what I got attracted towards engineering for, where you could actually solve a problem, build something, and you could release it very quickly and see how it solves the problem.
And did you have the vision early on that you would eventually found your own company?
I was founding different organizations and things even in school. So I would start a club or I would start an organization and I started a charity, and I was like 6 years old onwards. Like I've started one thing after the other. So for me, it was just like projects, once I heard that some people didn't have money for education, when I heard it, I was like, okay, we need to do something. We got all the children in the neighborhood together and said, and I think gave it a name and said, we're part of this group. And like we gave everybody a page where they will go and they'll go door to door, ask for money from those folks and like collect the money. And then we'll give it out to the students who were not able to afford education. And then it grew bigger, et cetera, as well. But it was more of, hey, there's a problem, we'll solve it, then getting people together. Or we would create teams together to play sports. We would, put people together in different ways. So I think it was more about, we want to do X. How do we actually do it? And normally to collect people to make it happen.
And do you think that initiative is just inherent, or were you influenced by maybe family members where they were also self-starters?
I know. I think it's more natural. My dad had a government job. My mom as well wasn't, starting things, but I did have the freedom to do it, right? Like your parents could be like, what are you doing? Why are you guys going around as kids to people's houses and like they'll go to strangers' house, right? But, they didn't stop as well. So I think that's where I would say parenting helped, where they didn't stop us from doing these things, but it was more natural around trying to solve it and nobody telling you can't do that.
And when you were in undergrad pursuing your studies, MIT is in a different country altogether from where you are at the time, and it's hard to get into. It's some of the brightest minds that go there. Did you just think to yourself, I'm going to go there, I'm going to apply there, and I want to be among the best? Was that kind of the thought process?
Yeah, so I applied to 4 or 5 schools. So I didn't actually apply to many. And those they were the top schools. Of course, I had to go to these schools, right? But, these were the best schools. I got a list out of like, which are the best schools. And then one of my classmates' brother had gone to MIT. So when we were talking about schools, I asked him, I was like, oh, yeah, I'll be applying to these schools. And he looks at me, he's like, if you want to go into MIT, you need to have research. And this was in like the junior year. And I was like, oh, okay. So let me do research. So I started a research group in my college. It wasn't a research institution. So I started a research group, got people together again, and started doing robotics research. And the school let me do it. So I made it happen. And for the summer, I applied for a research internship and got that, and I wrote my first paper, and that's how I got to MIT as well.
I'm sure we could spend even more time discussing your educational career within MIT, but let's go into Overjet. What made you decide to focus on the dentistry field?
So personal experience, I changed my dentist because I changed neighborhoods. And with that, the new dentist gave me a treatment plan, which was different than previous dentist diagnosis. And that got me interested in dental diagnosis. Something didn't feel right. I asked for my x-rays. I started reading Dental 101. It felt that there was something off. And then I gave my x-rays to multiple other dentists and asked them for their diagnosis on it. The results were a little all over the place, where it felt like more of an art rather than a science. And I trying to get to the truth, like what is really happening, who's right, who's not right. And that's when I actually started learning more and more about dentistry, to the point that I kind of got obsessed with it. And I quit my job, not knowing what I was doing, but knowing that I wanted to work in dentistry and I didn't want to work in anything else. It was one, like, I get very myopic in that sense, around like, hey, this is what I want to do. And I felt like I could actually make a difference with the current state of the technology as well, because I kind of knew, hey, it's a variation of diagnosis problem. We, will start off with AI helping dentists. So it was like roughly loosely defined, but I started trying to meet dentists, then shadowing dentists, and that's how it started to form into a company. And with that, realized there was a much bigger problem, but this was the problem we started off with.
And how soon before you raised capital?
So our first like pre-seed happened a year later. I was actually using my savings. So I had 1 year of experience that I was utilizing. So it wasn't like a lot of savings, but I was utilizing my savings. And then, but we did get, my parents had given me a small check to help me put a down payment for a house. So I decided not to put the down payment, utilize that. And then one of the dentists I met, they put some money as well. So there was a little bit of money that does get to the first year when MIT's Z14 fund preceded Overjet.
What was the first kind of milestone that you hit before taking in additional capital?
It was getting customers. So it was actually insurance customers, as well as a few practices that we were able to sign up. And that helped us and get more capital as well.
So you've brought in, I think it's around over $100 million. You're well into the company's growth phase. Can you give us a sense for how much your solution is being used? Maybe the number of customers?
Yes. So we serve both insurance companies and dental practices. On the insurance company side, we serve some of the largest insurance companies in the US, and these represent about 110 million members. What that means is 50% of the dental insurance claims information our software touches, and that's only growing. And then on the practice side, we serve groups as well as smaller practices. So it's in the thousands of practices that we serve, and we help them make better diagnosis and communicate with patients effectively. And now we're working on connecting the two together to create like magical experiences for patients, such that they can have real-time claim decisioning, such that they don't get surprise bills later in the mail, or can get the care that they can afford as well.
You have very nice visuals and graphics on your website on what each party would see and why this is a very viable solution. Are there other competing solutions out there, or do you foresee Overjet being the predominant solution used by all these parties?
So we're definitely the predominant solution used by all of the parties. So in some segments, we have competition, but there's nobody that is operating in all the segments that we're operating in.
Fantastic. So what use case would you say is the most prevalent? It sounds like most of the insurance companies are using it. Is it your technology would display in a more accurate fashion what the actual issue is with the patient, enabling them to more appropriately analyze the risk and cost? Is that correct?
Yeah, and make sure that the decisions are much more accurate, they're more streamlined, more efficient, and more consistent. So two reviewers looking at the same data should come to the same conclusion. It shouldn't be multiple different conclusions. And similarly, for whichever dentist you go to, you should get a comprehensive diagnosis and it should be great. So it is getting that consistency and having that standard across diagnosis and care that is being created. And then third component here is we also have started providing the solution to dental schools. So schools are also utilizing it. So how do you then train the next generation of dentists on the technology so that the next generation of dentists are not only utilizing it, but helping to really think through how to best utilize it as well.
And what are you most focused on day to day?
So every day I set what I need to focus on and usually try to resolve it in that day as well. So, every day is different. But in general, it is a lot about team building. We are hiring, how do you actually build an engine that can build the right products and serve the customers? What would be the right processes that we need to put in place? Who are the right type of people we need to hire? And then with customers as well, with some of the largest customers, how do we serve them more effectively, better? And then I love to think through product. That's one I love to do. And so what's the best product you can build for our customers?
And what's been the most challenging aspect to company building? You had an early start, it seems, on starting things and maybe organizing people. Did the people part come more naturally to you?
No, it's a very different thing of like when you're, people doing things for free. It's not a job. Like, when you were just like putting people together and like getting them to do something, they're doing it because they want to do it and they don't justify why you're doing it. You're just doing it kind of a thing. So yeah, it's easier to like for me to get people like, so the selling piece I can do. Then the second piece is the harder piece, which I'm still learning and a lot more to learn here as well, is for folks for where this is their job, right? Like, they're not volunteering here. What does that look like? And you have now seasoned executives who have their own philosophies around how things should be, and like, and how do you get these different philosophies and make sure that you have one coherent philosophy as well for the company and the values that you as a company strive for, and how do you actually instill those values across the company as well? And then like, how do you ensure that everybody is doing it, even if they're doing it as a job? It's still a mission. It's still that they're being driven by it. So I think that's the challenging piece. And there's a lot more to do of how do you manage more effectively? How do you ensure that people are focused on the right things, etc. And something I'm a student of.
It seems like you may have hit product market fit pretty quickly. Was that the case?
So quickly is a subjective term, and subjective in terms of like what you're trying to build as well. The good thing is products we built the right products for the right problems. But it took time to build them because they weren't easy problems that we were solving. So even, for example, on the insurance side, reviewing a claim and actually doing everything that a dentist does in their head when they're reviewing a claim is actually very hard. How do you encode dentist understanding of disease and anatomy and a longitudinal progression of disease, etc., into these models, and how do you actually then serve these models more effectively is not an easy task. So it took us time, but we've been lucky that things that we introduce into the market does take on, but also like we are introducing things that the market wants as well.
You've brought in capital, as mentioned. You have some of the top investors. What would you say is the value that they have brought beyond financial capital?
So one is when you're in this VC world, then you're basically going from one round to another round to another round. And these are like milestones that you're hitting on the financial side of things. And in that, what VCs help is the introduction to the next round folks, and they're different, right? So like the seed folks are not the same as Series A folks, and the Series A folks are not the same as growth folks, etc. And like you don't have those networks, because yes, like once you're in that stage, you start to like know everyone there, but like then you have to move to the other stage. So that introduction and the network that they have and the connectivity they have across the VC ecosystem really does help. And then second is, the VCs in general are connected to organizations, etc. as well. So it might be, for example, recently one of our board members connected me to a CEO of an insurance company. Other than that, like I've been very lucky that the investors that we've had have been really awesome and really helpful as well. So whenever if I have a real challenge, I give them a call and we talk through it because there's not many people I can talk through everything as well with. And then it helps in making the right decision as well.
Do you foresee expanding beyond the dental industry?
We do foresee extending beyond the dentistry. I don't have a date for that, but we are very ambitious as people, as a company, and what we're doing is not only necessary in dentistry, it's necessary in a lot more areas. But the question is when, and the question is how do we do it in such a way that we don't dilute what we're doing in dentistry and really have that market share that we want to have in dentistry as well.
And do you foresee then also, raising subsequent rounds of financing?
So if we raise the next round of financing, it'll be more for strategic reasons. We are projecting to be profitable with the current funding.
Fantastic. We're going to head into the tail end of the conversation. I got two final questions, but before I ask those, what advice would you give to other founders who are maybe a little bit earlier in their business building process, or they're about to enter the scale up phase that you're presumably in?
I think number one would be the quality of the team is the most important thing, and really focusing on building the right team. And then if we don't have the right people, changing that. And companies can go through a lot of chaos and do well. So it's one where not be afraid of the chaos. And there's like a little bit of like having this balance between stability and chaos ensures that you're advantage of your full potential as well. And then second would be really put the foot on the gas. Like it is about building fast, moving fast, getting things out in the market, testing and seeing what the feedback is, and really iterating and getting the next, feature out into the market as well. And that's another one where there's usually a pushback or the general tendency is to slow down. And this is one where I think, especially early founders need to like keep that pressure on to go at these speeds, which can start to get uncomfortable as you start to hit like real numbers, because now you have customers to serve and like, you adding more people into your go-to-market teams faster than you can train them sometimes, etc. But it starts to almost like hurt a little, but you need to do that in order to be in a competitive environment. And we are in a very competitive, software is not a non-competitive environment to be in. We're in a very competitive situation, mostly, even think of OpenAI, right? Like we could have that kind of edge, but still be in a competitive environment with Claude and Gemini, etc. as well. So I think it's one where nobody gets away with not innovating fast enough. So I think those would be the two things.
Okay, final two questions. One is, can you tell us about a person who has had a profound influence on you?
Probably my husband. I've known him since grad school, and we've evolved together. We were both into like building like social focused businesses and and startups, and how we've evolved together as well, and how we look at the world and what we want to do in the world as well.
Okay, last question. Can you tell us about a charity, cause, or other endeavor that you're passionate about?
Yeah, so there is a charity that I'm pretty passionate. There's two actually, but one is called BT, and that's around bringing sight to people who cannot see. But the interesting thing is, with a very small donation, you can actually do it. So I think it's like $40 or $50 or something like that, like very, very small in terms of like, if you think about the value, like you're actually, somebody is going from being blind to them being able to see, and like that changes their life. So I really like the value being driven by the amount you're putting in. The other organization that I've been involved in is Fistula Foundation. And that's a particular condition where women are suffering from perineal tears, and they're basically bleeding, etc. And it could be many reasons. They had sex before they got mature enough to do it. So there's like a lot, or like got raped, etc. There's like a lot of reasons why you end up in that situation. So it's in Africa, they end up being even tied to trees so that they do not dirty up the whole house, etc. So it's actually very brutal the way these women get treated if they have this condition. And again, surgery can help. So this is one where it's called Fistula Foundation, Fistula, that with a small donation, you can actually make an impact.
Fantastic. We will put links in the show notes to those two organizations. Well, Wardah, I want to thank you again for taking the time to chat with us today. It's been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you, RJ. Take care.